Welcome to I Am LIVin LE'GaCee, where Black stories breathe and legacies live. I'm your host, Dr. G, and this is our soft, sacred space, a place where everyday voices hold extraordinary truth. Here, we gather the lived wisdom of our people, life lessons, joys, grief, resilience, and love, passed down through generations. In a world that has worked hard to erase our histories, this is our resistance. We remember, we speak, we carry forward. These stories are not just memories. They are maps. They are mirrors. They are medicine. So settle in, take a breath. You belong here. Terri Jordan is a proud New Orleanian, mother of 4, and grandmother of 6, with more than 25 years of experience in workforce development. Throughout her career, she has dedicated herself to helping individuals unlock their full potential through education, training, and personal growth. A certified facilitator in learner-centered, self-directed learning, Terri has partnered with local colleges and nonprofits to implement this transformative approach. She has designed and led numerous workshops, training over 300 individuals in 21st century success principles soft skills, equipping them with the tools to thrive in today's workforce. Currently serving in the Workforce Development Department at Delgado Community College, Terri continues to empower learners with the skills and confidence they need to succeed. Outside of her personal life, she enjoys reading, traveling, and spending time with family. Thank you, Ms. Terri, for joining me today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So in preparing for today's conversation, Ms. Terri, you shared with me that you wanted to talk about finding grief and gratitude in dark places.
Finding gratitude.
Finding gratitude in dark places.
Yeah.
And this conversation goes into the loss of your husband, Mr. Morris. We talk about feeling gratitude and grief, how it changed you, and also about collateral beauty. And so, where would you like to begin with this?
Okay, so first of all, thank you, Gilda, for having me here, Dr. G. I appreciate being here, and I appreciate your friendship over the years. I'm so happy that you're doing this. You're doing such a wonderful job with it. And so, when you asked me to come on and talk about a particular subject, it was a lot of things that I could have talked about. But the one thing that stood out for me and that has really been a large part of my life for the last 9 years was gratitude. And so I wanted to talk about gratitude and how it changed my life and my perspective after having one of the biggest losses, and that's losing my partner, my husband, Morris, after being with him for 42 years. And so there were so many lessons that came out of that, but the greatest thing that came out of it was my appreciation and learning how gratitude will lift you up out of those places and help you to move on. And so I've always been grateful. I think a lot of us, we'll talk about how grateful we are for this, that, and the other. But it's not until we are faced in those dark moments can we still be grateful? And my answer is yes. And in still be grateful, can you find the collateral beauty in that? And my answer is yes. Yes, you can. Because I have, and I'm a living testimony of it. And I'm sitting here today living my life in total gratitude. And in learning that the more grateful that I was, the things that I wanted for my life came to me. And so it drew it into me. And so I would tell anyone that being grateful is a life changer. It really is. I mean, it's the real deal. It changes everything. And so my journey with this lesson started back in 2016 when my husband Morris first started having some problems, and we didn't know exactly what it was. And through trial and error, he was diagnosed with ALS. And so that totally shattered my family, myself, everything, because when you get that diagnosis, there is no cure. There's only, after you get the diagnosis, maybe a window of anywhere from a year to 5 years that person may live. And so it was devastating for us. But in the midst of all that, the other thing is that God always knows what's coming. You don't know what's coming, but He does. And so unbeknownst to me and my family, God had been preparing us for this moment. And how He done that was that I had just started working at Delgado. This was in January of 2016, and he was diagnosed in May of 2016. And so during getting his diagnosis, they mentioned about sending him somewhere to some place for other folks to take care of him. I said, no way. I told the doctors right away, let's settle this right now. My husband is coming home with us. We're going to take care of him. You're going to teach us how to take care of him. I'm not sending this man who is taking care of everyone in his family somewhere for others to take care of him. Yes. I say, so y'all, they say, okay, Miss Jordan, we got you. And so in order for that to take place, there had to be some other things there. And so when my husband was discharged, right around that time when my husband started getting sick, my youngest son, Michael, had lost his job. He was laid off from his job, and this is how God sets everything up. Prior to that, right after Katrina, our neighbor's house across the street was for sale. They sold it to us for little or nothing almost. And we fixed it up and said, oh, we're going to rent it out and turn it and flip it. That didn't work out. And so, because of insurance and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, my youngest son moved in there. And so he was right across the street from us, 2 doors down. Then he lost his job. And plus, I had just started. So how were we going to work this out? God already had it worked out. Michael was across the street. Michael didn't have to worry about going to work anymore. And so my son was able to take care of his father. All he had to do was come across the street 5 minutes, help me with him in the morning, stay there with him during the day. And then when I came home, then he went back and then he still helped me at night. And so my youngest son, Mike, and I were his main caretakers. And I must say that I was so proud of my son, Michael, because he knew how to do everything. Took care of his trach. He had a portable ventilator. He had intravenous feeding, all of these things. And then, he was able to do all of those things and did it well. And so that was number one of God setting everything up. So He knew this was coming. We didn't know it was coming. So it worked out perfectly. I didn't have to quit my job at that time. And then Michael was able to be there with my husband. And so we did this for almost 2 years. And then unfortunately, he passed away. And I can remember, if I have time to share the story really quickly, about how, he passed away the night that he passed away, he was in the ALS clinic that he had to go to once a month. And they go once a month and they check, all the doctors are there. And I must say that actually the ALS clinic with Dr. I can't remember his name right now, but he's the same doctor that took care of Steve Gleason.
Oh, wow.
And just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful man. And it was the clinic, everybody was just great. But my husband, the night that he passed, he would not go to sleep. He was anxious. Normally we give him his medicine. He goes to sleep around 10 o'clock, wake up in the morning, do our routine. But this particular night, he would not go to sleep. We had an appointment the next morning. And it got so bad that, he would keep calling me. I would go see what he want. He was seeing people, not knowing that this was the phase of him transitioning. I had no idea that it was. And I was so tired, and I went in the bathroom. I was crying. I prayed. I said, God, give him rest so he can sleep, calm him down, and then make me be able to get a nice rest so that in the morning we can bring him to the doctor. When I came out the bathroom, he was calm, and I was like, oh wow. I was like, and I said, you okay? He said, yeah, I'm fine. I said, good. I said, go to sleep because we got to get up early. And then I turned my back to walk away, and he called me again. And I said, what you want now? And he said, I just want to tell you, I'm not going to call you no more. So in my mind, I thought that meant he wasn't going to call me no more that night. I said, good. I said, go to sleep. And unfortunately, when I woke up the next morning, I heard the ventilator. I could tell by the sound of it that something wasn't right. And when I went over to try to wake him, he was gone. And they did get a pulse, and we got into the hospital, and he lived another day or so, and then he passed away. And I remember talking to you.
Yes.
You called me, and you remember what I told you? What I was upset about?
Yes.
Okay, and you told me, you said, Miss Terri, you still have time. Just tell him what you want to tell him. And I said I was upset with him because he wouldn't go to sleep.
Yes.
And she said, don't let that say Mr. Morris knew you loved him.
Yes.
And you would take care of him.
Yes.
And your phone call helped me so much. And I did get a chance to tell him. And so, when you get, and I said all that to say that when you get a diagnosis like that and it devastates a family, you always ask this question. You don't question God, but you do. And you be honest.
Because we're human.
Yeah, we're human.
Yes.
You question.
Yes.
And I'm like, why us?
Yes.
I thought, why us?
Yes.
Morris was the nicest person, the best
Yes.
father, the best. Why him?
Yes.
And why us?
Yes.
Why did God allow this to happen to us? And everybody's life was going on. And so I grappled with that for a little while. But then I realized after his passing, it hit me. It hit me why all of this happened, at least a part of the reason why, because, when things happen to us and it's happening to us and we in the midst of it, we don't see the big picture, right? All we see is what's happening to us, and we responding and reacting to that, and we don't know that. But in God's eyesight, he's looking at the big picture. He's looking at the big picture. And I didn't get the big picture until some months later. And it hit me why he chose my family, why he chose Morris, why I wound up at Delgado doing what I was doing. I had applied for a job there, didn't get the one that I wanted, but wound up getting the one where I was teaching people that had lost their job, come into my workshops to get themselves together with resume, interview skills, and everything. And I found myself sharing my story about my husband. And sharing the story about finding the collateral beauty, because I found collateral beauty in taking care of my husband, and this was the collateral beauty was, guilt. It was that my husband had been a person that had taken care of everyone, his family, me, everyone, right? We were always the recipients of that. And so when he got sick and we poured all of what he had poured into us back into him, the collateral beauty was he got a chance to see and know how much we appreciated and loved him. And then for us, God gave us the opportunity to give back to him. So that was the collateral beauty. That's what it was, that our roles were reversed and that we got to experience both of them before he left. And so that was the collateral beauty. That's what it was. And then the other thing, and so how do I take this story and help others with it? And it hit me. And so when people would come to my workshops, they had lost jobs, some of them 30 years, 40 years. They were devastated because loss is loss. And trauma happens when you lose something a lot of times. And so it could be a spouse, it could be a parent, it could be anything. It could be a loss of a job, because some people are so connected to what they do, that's part of who they are. So when they come to the workshop, they've lost it all and they're down, they're beaten. And so what I started doing was sharing my story about finding collateral beauty and what happened with my husband. And I would start my workshops with that story and sharing. Before I got into the mechanics about resume writing and all that, I addressed the immediate need of what they were feeling. I addressed their feelings, because if I could address their feelings, and then I can get them to a place where they can do all the things they need to get back into the workforce. And so when I started sharing my story about finding collateral beauty, and I told them, I said, you may have lost your job, but I can guarantee you that there's something beautiful that's going to come out of you losing your job at this moment, at this time. You may not see it right now, but you will see it at some point. And I can remember a guy in the class that had been on a job making six figures, had lost his job. He was devastated. He was bitter and everything. And so when I started sharing and I thought about finding your collateral beauty, I said, because I can guarantee you that your collateral beauty is something that you're doing now that you would not have been doing if you had not lost your job. And after the workshop, this guy came up to me. He said, Miss Jordan, I just want to tell you that I know what my collateral beauty is. And I said, what is it? He said, before, I didn't really know my grandkids. And so when I lost my job, my daughter called me and asked me, could I drop them off at school and pick them up? And I told him, yeah. And during that time, me spending time with them, because I didn't have the time before, I got to know them and grow closer. He said, that's my collateral beauty. I said, you got it. You got it.
Miss Terri, I can tell you that this world is moving so fast that when there is loss,
yes,
the expectation is for you to just hurry up and move past it and get to the next thing. And many times we don't even have the time to sit with whatever feelings we have with what's going on in life. And for you to create an opportunity for people to feel seen about the loss of a job,
yes,
that is phenomenal, because oftentimes in other scenarios, people will be in those spaces and it's like, okay, let's just get right to the business of things. But you took time to see people, and you took time to allow people to look at something that could be devastating in a very different way.
Yes, yes, yes. And Gilda, I could tell you that when those workshops were over, I got so much feedback. People come up to me and say, I had no idea that I was coming to this today. I had no idea that this is what I was getting. And when they left, and so afterwards, they all came back to every workshop I had. And some of them even repeated after that.
Oh, wow.
And they would come out. They would go in feeling a certain way, and they came out. There were smiles, and some of the people that worked in the building that referred into the workshops, they would say, I don't know what you did. I said, all I did was address how they're feeling and let them know that it's not over for them, and that there's collateral beauty in what happened to them, and they can move past it. I said, it's okay to cry. You can cry, you can get mad, do all that.
All of it.
I said, face it and sit in it. I said, don't run from it. I said, because it's there. I said, the quicker you sit in it and acknowledge how you're feeling, I said, the quicker you can move on. I said, this will pass too. I said, but I can guarantee you that you will figure out somewhere along the way that there was something wonderful that came out of this. Trust me, it is. It is. And so when I say about finding gratitude in dark places, we can be grateful for, when we label things that happen to us, we label them as good, bad, great, or whatever. But everyone has went through loss. Everyone has had things happen to them that they wish had not happened to them. But my thing is, if you're still here and you're listening to this and you're sitting here and you went through those things, the thing is that you won because you're still here. And I can guarantee that there was something that you learned, that you found out about yourself, that you found out about others, that helped you through that process. And so being grateful for those things will bring more things for you. And to tell you how it helped me to realize that God had given me a gift, not looking at it as a gift. I thought it was this horrible thing that happened to me, but realizing that He was using me. He was using me. I was supposed to be at that moment, in that time, in that place, telling that story, because that's how He planned.
Yes.
I didn't know it then. And He set everything up because he had my son living across the street. We bought the house. I got the job. I didn't get the first one, but I got the second one. I started sharing my story. I said, God, I got it now. I see it now, and He chose my family. He chose Morris. He chose me, and He chose us because He wanted to show that, yeah, this is a great family, but they suffered loss.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not based on, yeah, you were bad and, whatever, because if He had used someone that, that people might look at and say, oh, this person ain't doing this, doing that, doing that. And they say, oh, yeah, well, that's why it happened to them because of that. No,
yes.
no. He said, I'm going to use this couple, I'm going to use this family, and I'm going to use that lady to help others as they come through those workshops.
I want to share something with you that you probably don't know.
Okay.
And I'm going to try to do this without crying. And for those of you all who don't know this, I'm a crier, so I'm going to try and get through this story without crying.
Okay. All right.
In one of my last episodes with our first guest, Catherine Hutton, we talked about things that people experience. Mm-hmm. And we don't realize that the things that we go through, they're there, those experiences happen for us to be able to, at some point down the road, help somebody else go through those things, whether we know them or not. There may be many of you listening today, we don't know you personally, but you can absolutely identify with the things that Miss Terri is saying. What you may not know is your journey helped me on my journey with my husband and his diagnosis with leukemia.
Oh, wow. Really?
And so how you took care of your husband, that's what I leaned on to help me.
Oh, wow.
In this journey that we're going through right now,
yes.
We're taking care of him.
Okay.
And so I just want to say, even though you never knew that, that you sharing your story with me gave me the strength that I needed as a wife, and that I need as a wife to be able to be there for him.
Oh, yeah.
Sitting in those doctor's offices.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's a very, very hard thing to do. And I, like you, have asked why, but I've stopped that.
Yeah.
This is just a part of the journey.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And I accept that. And I try to do the best that I can in this space for him, for myself, for our children, for our grandchildren. It's not always easy, but I understand that. And it has happened the same way it happened with you, and you didn't even know it, but it helped me. What I'm going through, in turn, help somebody else.
Oh, wow. And see, that's how God works. That's how he works. That is how he works, Gilda. You don't see it or know it, but his, our thing is tunnel vision, right?
Yeah.
But his is so wide that everything that we do, and sometimes we don't know how we're helping other folks. And that's what his whole mission is. He wants us to help the next person. If you can get through it, I can get through it. And that's how he does. But thank you for sharing it, because I didn't know. I had never thought about that. But you sharing this today make me know that, that it all was working for good. Like everything is working for good. It really, really is. And so, that helped me to deal with the loss of my mom recently, because she passed in May. And so, that same, my mom was 80, she was about to make 88 years old when she passed, and it's a loss that I'm still grappling with. I have my moments, like I said, whenever I have my moments, I lean into them, right?
Yes.
I don't run away from them. If I feel like crying, I'm just going to cry. And cry all day if I have to. And then the next morning, the sun is going to rise and come up, and everything's going to be fine.
Absolutely.
And that's how I dealt with that. And so what I found for the gratitude, being grateful for my mom and for my dad, was that I had my mom for 67 years. And I've had friends that have lost both parents in their 30s. And so I am so grateful that I did not lose a parent until one, when I was 57, 58, and the next one I'm 67. That's a blessing in itself.
Yes, it is.
To still have them here that time. Yes. And then God allowed me, and this is the other thing that he done for me. He allowed me to prepare for their leaving. All three of the people that I have had the honor of helping them to transition into their next reality, their next life. My mom, my dad, and my husband. And so in all three of those instances, this is how God is. And the thing that I'm so grateful for is that he allowed me to prepare for their transition, which means that he allowed me to take care of them and then to help them to leave. And I was there when my mom left, I was there when my dad left, and I was there when Morris left. And I had no regrets because I had done all I was supposed to do. So God gave me that. If I had lost either one of them suddenly, I have no idea how I would have handled that. But God was gracious in that he gave me the opportunity to prepare for it and also to help take care of them. And I look at that as a blessing. And so that is the beauty and the blessing of, because in those moments when you're doing that, it's like you the closeness of it, it's like the roles are reversed. You know, when you and your mom, you know, my mom was the most grateful person you ever want to meet, and every time I went over to help take care of her, she would say, "Oh, I'm just so blessed. I'm so grateful, y'all taking care of me." And I say, "Yeah, but you took care of us, so we're gonna make sure that we take care of you." And so, what we do, how we handle those bad moments that's gonna come into our life, other people are watching it. And observing, and they're seeing if that person can get through it, and they can get through it with the grace and the dignity and being grateful, then I can do that also. So thank you for sharing it, because I had no idea that it affected you like that. I had no idea.
It is absolutely true that people pay attention to how people live their lives.
They do.
And not in the best of times, but in the worst of times.
You got it.
That's when we pay attention to how people navigate and how people engage, because, again, it's telling a story of how people are as individuals that you can't tell until people are tested.
There you go. There you go.
And how people handle the hard times in that test tells me a lot about who I need to keep paying attention to, because their lives are guiding me in how I need to navigate in my life.
There you go.
And so, although I never said nothing, Lord knows I was paying attention.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I never knew that it would lead to why I needed to pay so much attention to how you were navigating your life.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
For people who are listening and who may be going through a hard time right now, you've mentioned collateral beauty so many times, and y'all, that's just finding beauty in the darkest, in the hardest of times.
Yes.
And so for folks that are listening right now that may be going through their own grief or loss, whatever that looks like or whatever it may be, what words of encouragement could you give to folks listening?
Question. I want to preface it with that how I start finding that gratitude is identifying what I'm grateful for. So what I started doing after my husband passed and going through those dark nights of crying and not knowing how to handle, my kids didn't even know. They thought I was doing good. But every night I went to sleep crying, and I did that for months after he passed. And so I finally said I have to pull myself together. So I started a gratitude journal. So I started writing in that journal. I will never forget the day, January 11, 2018. And I started writing that journal every day, what I was grateful for. Waking up, coffee, the sunshine, everything. And every day I put my husband's name in there, Morris Jordan Jr. Grateful for him for 42 years of support and love. And as I started talking about all of the things I was grateful for, everything started feeling better. Because I had so much more to be grateful for. I had so much to be grateful for. And once I started identifying that, it helped me to deal with those feelings of loss. Because even though you have lost something, there are some things there that you still can be grateful for. And I can guarantee you that gratitude journal changed my life. It changed my life. Once I started acknowledging that, it was almost magical. So what I started doing also, I started writing down on little sticky notes what I wanted. Because soon as you step into gratitude, God and the universe will give you the desires of your heart. Long as it's in line with His purpose, He will give it to you. And so I started asking for things. And it started happening, Gil, all sorts of things. If I ran into any kind of problem, anything, I wrote it down how I wanted to do, and it happened. And I even after losing my husband, I wanted to find love again. I wrote that in there, and guess what? That happened.
Yes.
And so I would say to people that are going through being in a place that doesn't feel good right now, find the things that you're grateful for in that moment. And regardless of what it is, if it's breathing, if it's waking up, if it's the sunshine, it's so many things. I can give you a book and have you to start writing down all the things you're grateful for. You would run out of space. And once you start identifying that, it changes you. And it really does. So it changed my life. Things started happening for me, and it was almost scary because I would write this stuff on these sticky notes and put them in my book and whatever. When they start happening, I'll peel them off and I'll show them. I showed some of them to my daughters, and they was like, "Okay, what you doing?" I said, all I'm doing is being grateful. And so find the collateral beauty in whatever it is that you're going through, because everyone is going through something. Everyone. And that's the other thing that I found out through this illness with my husband and going through all this, that we don't know when people are going through something, right? So it made me to be cognizant of how I deal with people, which I always have been, because you never know what they're going through. Because weeks after I lost my husband, and I would go into the store, I'd go anywhere, and everybody just going about doing my business, in my mind would go, "What are y'all doing? Don't y'all know I just lost my husband? Why y'all walking around here laughing, doing this and that?" And it hit me. No, they don't know. Just like I don't know what they're going through. So it's my duty to make sure that I treat them right, that I say a kind word to. I say hello, good morning, how you doing? Because you don't know what they're going through. Because they didn't know what I was going through. So I learned that also, that you don't just talk to people any kind of way. You don't be any kind of way with them, because you have no idea. I had so many people that came through my workshop that once it was over with, they would share their story. And it's like, I had no idea that I would get this from this, because I didn't know nobody knew what I was going through. People would cry, they would be crying, and they would leave, and they would leave uplifted. So I was able to do what I was supposed to do. But I treated them as though they were seen, and that they were important, and that whatever they're going through, I'm here to listen to that. And I see it, and I hear you. And so if we do nothing but that, then we're doing a lot for folks. So whenever I look at someone, and even when I see them and they're not acting, if they're not smiling, or if they're responding to you a certain way, in my mind, I'm thinking that person is going through something. Something is going on with them. And so what I try to do is ask them, how are they? How you doing? And to change their conversation and not give off the same energy, but to meet it with a different kind of energy. And so I may have talked too much, You
absolutely did not.
I may have talked too much.
You did not. You hit on so many things. There has been a common theme with all of these conversations. Mm-hmm. And it is about energy being real.
Oh, it is real. It is real. It is so real.
It is about being mindful of how we live our lives,
yes,
because people are watching, yes, whether we realize it or not.
Yes, they are.
And about treating people with dignity, respect,
yes,
and kindness.
Yes.
We don't even know how far that goes.
It goes a long way.
It goes a long way.
Yeah. You can change another person's day. You can change their perspective. Just how you respond to them, how you talk to them, how you see it. People wants to be There are 4 things that I've always learned about people. People wants to be affirmed. They want to be appreciated. They want to be understood. And the other one, I'm trying to think of it right now. But all those things, everybody have a natural desire for that, and to be seen, and to be understood, and to be affirmed, and to be validated.
Yes.
That's the other one.
Yes.
Affirmed,
yes.
Validated, understood. We all want all of those things. And so when you give a person that, you have given them so much that's going to help them. And I learned that years ago. When you give people that, then they'll listen to you.
Yes.
And then they'll talk to you. And then they'll whatever. And so when you give people that affirmation, you give them that understanding, when you give them that validation, it's gold. It's gold.
Thank you for being such a beautiful, beautiful light in this world. And also, thank you for sharing such a very personal story with us. I know it's not always easy, but it helps so many of us. And I appreciate that. And I know those of you who are listening, when you hear this, will appreciate this as well. And I need you all to play this over and over and over again, because when your spirit is low and when you feel like you can't find a way out of that dark place, I promise you, listening to this will help you get out of that dark place. Thank you, Ms. Terri.
Thank you, Gilda, for having me on. I appreciate it, and you keep doing what you're doing, because this is wonderful. I love what you're doing, and this is you.
Oh, thank you. This was absolutely amazing. Ms. Terri, I want to extend my deepest gratitude for opening your heart and sharing your journey with us. Through the pain of loss, you showed us that even in the darkest of places, there can be light, with you so beautifully called collateral beauty. Your story reminds us that even shattered pieces, when held with love and grace, can be remade into a beautiful masterpiece. It is within these tender places where gratitude takes deeper roots that love reveals itself in unexpected ways. Through family who stand beside us, the strength to give back after we've been poured into, and the grace to let love find us again. May we carry with us the truth that life, even in its hardest moments, continues to offer us opportunities to grow, to love, and to see beauty in the ashes. And may we have the courage to welcome beauty when it arrives, trusting it to soften our grief and expand our ability to love. And to you, my beautiful legacy keepers, thank you for holding this space with us today. May you too find glimpses of collateral beauty in your own journey, and may gratitude guide you even in the hardest places.